Greetings and welcome to our OMI World channel. We're coming live from our studios in Rome. I'm very happy to welcome and introduce our very special guest this afternoon, Father Cornelius Ngoka. Father Cornelius is a former Assistant General to Father Louis Logan. Welcome, Father, and thank you for being with us this afternoon.
Thank you, Bonga, and thank you for inviting me.
Good. You might be asking yourself, who is an Assistant General? What is their role? What is it all about, really? We will read from our Constitution and Rules, Article 144, that explains that very well to us. It says, the Assistant General, together with the Vicar General, ensure a continuous presence of the Council to assist the Superior General in the fulfillment of his office, particularly in areas such as animation of mission, first and ongoing formation, the coordination of visitations, and the responsible stewardship of temporal goods. The article continues to say that the Assistants General are also available to assume special responsibilities as assigned by the Superior General. Father Cornelius Ngoka, you've been one of those Assistant Generals for 12 years. But before we talk about that, I would invite you to please just share a little bit with us. Who is Father Cornelius? Tell us about yourself, some important moments on your vocation as an oblate.
Thank you. As you know, I was born in Nigeria, the southeastern part of Nigeria in 1969, and into a very Catholic family. I was a teenager when the Oblates arrived in Nigeria, and particularly in my parish. And that was the beginning of my vocation to Oblate religious life. I encountered a group of Oblates from 4 countries, Asia and Africa, who arrived. And I was marveled at the diversity of the group, their simplicity, and their eagerness to learn, to engage the people. And I must say that was the beginning of an answer to the deep yearning I was having as a teenager. And encountering the superior of the mission then, Father Sylvester Peku from Lesotho, sort of gave me the clarity about my vocation to be an oblate. And I started to discover the richness of this charism.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that these figures somehow shaped your oblate identity? They molded the oblate you have become today?
Absolutely. Father Sylvester was a very happy man. He was a musician, so he would sometimes call us and play music for us, classical music. I like classical music. And he was also very positive. He would always like to see the best in us. And I was also marveled at the presence of Brother Kingsley Kure from Sri Lanka. You know, his simplicity, sense of humor. And so these personalities, Father Joachim Manyanga from Congo, you know, so meeting people like that from all over the world in my small place opened my heart, you know, to the oblate charism, oblate dimension.
Beautiful. You've served in the general administration for 12 years. Take us through the past 12 years. What was your responsibility? I'm sure you had life-giving moments and challenges too. Please share your experience with us.
Thank you. After the 2010 General Chapter, one of my immediate tasks was to complete the new edition of the General Norms of Oblate Formation that was already started during the previous years, and animating the congregation in the light of the norms, and also implementing the chapter calls. So these 2 areas really focused my attention during the first years. I was also asked with a team to review the Oblate prayer book and to work for the new oblate ritual. So these areas, and including animating formation, making sure that our formation houses respond to the chapter calls, were some of the areas my portfolio focused.
Okay. Now you are a Biblist by profession, I will say. How did your studies contribute to your administration ministry?
Now, just before I go to that, I wanted also to say that the 2010 General Chapter insisted on on a deeper missionary spirituality in faith formation, and certainly that had to do with uh, equipping the formation teams to prepare oblates for the mission. So I think that was one area also that the Superior General wanted us to insist on. And of course, doing that work, my background in the biblical studies was very helpful. One thing I still keep with me, Lectio Divina. Lectio Divina has 5 steps. You have Lectio, you have Meditatio, you have Oratio, you have Contemplatio, you have Actio. And my ministry has always been inspired by these steps of Lectio Divina. And also an important aspect of listening. The scripture is about listening to God, to the voice of God, to the presence of God in the world around us. And so that has been a very important aspect of my life in the ministry I was called to do the administration.
Yeah. And obviously, as an assistant general, you were entrusted with this mission, so you had, in a way, contacts with the Oblates in different houses of formation, but also you had the experience of the church and of the world. You went around and you visited the congregation. Over the past few years, the church has been overwhelmed by many scandals and problems. What measures have we taken to protect the young men in our houses of formation, the young men that are coming to join us, but also what measures have we taken to avoid repeating the same mistakes that took place in the past?
It's a very interesting question. Of course, formation prepares us for the mission, but also for the religious life, for community. It prepares us for the future and for today. And the measures we've taken or we are taking, one important aspect is, as I said, to take care of the human component, to an integral formation that takes into account the whole history of the person that wants to be an oblate. And that has been through being more intentional about pre-novitiate formation. You remember when you were in X, we had a very nice workshop for pre-novitiate formators. So making sure that we equip them, the pre-novitiate formation stage, with the necessary tools to offer accompaniment at that very early stage, so that we don't just form the head, but we form the whole being, because it's about what we are, not what we do. So oblate formation has been trying to form missionary oblates who live their consecrated lives, who are. It's about what we are, witnesses, not just doing. And I think that's where the challenge lies, to make sure that we prepare people, oblates who are faithful.
And based on your knowledge of the congregation, which you have acquired over the past few years, visiting the congregation and joining together with as a team, with Father Louis as well, with all the other counselors in the team, how do you feel about our congregation? Do we have a future? If yes, what is the basis of your conviction? Why are you so convinced of that?
one of the gifts of these years is the visitations, encountering the many Oblate formation houses and vocation animation teams. And I must tell you that those experiences formed me, and they gave me reasons to believe in the future of the congregation. It's the zeal, the passion, the joy of the young men in our formation structures and houses and experiences, the commitment of Oblates in the various missions, difficult missions, the simplicity of relationships that we have really in the grassroots. These and many other experiences make me believe strongly that we have a future, and the church needs us, our charism. Our charism is called to stay. Remember during the year of Oblate vocation, how that experience transformed many units, from being skeptical about the future to being engaged, really committed to the future of our charism, renewing ourselves in our Oblate vocation. That alone, for me, says a lot about where we are. Yes, we have a future, and our future really lies in our capacity to reconnect with the essential elements of our charism and spirituality.
Now, I know for a fact that the issues of interculturality, crossing borders, sending young men in foreign missions can be considered among those things that were at the heart of the outgoing administration. How far have we gone? Are our houses of formation becoming more intercultural? Were young men being more prepared for crossing borders? Where are we in our houses of formation as far as that aspect of formation is concerned?
Good question. From the beginning, remember the founder was courageous enough to send out. He sent, he engaged, he encountered other continents, what you could call the foreign world. So crossing borders, I think, has always been part of our journey as a congregation. In the recent past, we've become more intentional about it as being part of our experience as Oblates. We are not just small groups, associations from various countries, but we are called to be one. And the recent general chapters invited us to be more intentional about preparing missionaries to go, but also preparing communities to receive and accompany this experience. Today, many, not all, many of our formation houses have this experience of interculturality. It still remains a challenge, in a world where sometimes you experience, cultural withdrawal, identity withdrawal, people trying to. So this becomes a challenge for us to bear witness to the Catholicity, the universality of our congregation, that we be able to feel at home wherever we are. We have had so many beautiful experiences of younger Oblates going and being received. We also, I know that we are still called to grow in this area, learning how to send, how to prepare, but also how to receive. And I believe that it is about the mission, and the community. And we have to begin from the initial formation stages. This is happening already, but it is called to improve with time in order to be able to go. And that going become part of our way of being Oblates. And I think the last chapter called us to be pilgrims. So it goes along with that, pilgrims living in communion as a congregation.
hope in communion. Yeah, when we recently concluded our 37th general chapter, if I'm not mistaken, this was your third general chapter. You've just made a reference to that chapter and to its theme. How was this chapter different from the other chapters you have attended? And what was the spirit that animated this chapter, and how prepared were we in the chapter, individually, but also collectively as chapter delegates?
One good thing is every chapter has a time of preparation. We pray for the chapter, we have documents, we read reports. The first chapter was provincial, and of course I came to the chapter with my world. That was my province. The needs of my world. That was my province, maybe the region. The subsequent chapters, of course, I had a broader vision of the congregation. What is different between this one and the past ones is after 12 years on the council, on the general council, I had a knowledge of the congregation that I didn't have before. So I saw where the congregation was, where we are, and probably maybe where God would want us to be. So that knowledge, that richness, defined the way I participated in the chapter. One other thing I noticed was the number of younger members of the congregation who were coming to the chapter for the first time. Many of them, and their enthusiasm, and that showed also the need they expressed for some newness, some new dynamics, and that's a call to all of us, to be open to the diversity, and that also was very clear. The congregation is growing. Many of the chapter members were young, so that's also sign of where we are called to be in the future, the growth, the interculturality. It was a very multicultural group. So I think, yes, it's the same spirit, but different way. And then also we had a chapter in Nemi, in a beautiful place, a bit withdrawn, and it also, it informed the whole spirit, that accompanied the chapter experience.
And of course, you're talking about newness. The chapter gave us a new superior general and a new general council. You worked with Father Chicho, at least during your first 6 years in the general council. You were part of the same team with Father Chicho. Talk to us about him. Who is Father Chicho? What can we expect of Father Chicho and his new team and this new leadership in a way?
Yes. During the first term, my first term on the council, Father Chicho was a member of the community, so we were part of the same community. He was a community person. I was really we worked together very well. Father Chicho has a deep love for the congregation. That's one thing I noted during those years. Deep love for the congregation. Very gifted also in youth ministry, but the simplicity of life, and a band of conviction, and I think that depth is also seen in his prayer life. Prayer being part of his Oblate mission, and that is, I think, what he's going to bring: the depth, his deep love for the congregation. He challenges himself and he challenges others, of course, and that will launch us into the new areas God wants us to go to as a congregation in living the chapter calls. Of course, the community dimension. I mentioned it. During these years, I have always appreciated the simplicity, but also the beauty of our community. And during the first term, Chicho was part of that experience. And when we knew he was already on his second term, and he introduced us, some of us who were new, and I remain appreciative, for that.
And of course, he himself has insisted a lot on the fact that, he's not just alone. The chapter gave him a team. They come together as a community. So it's a leadership of a community, and it's always been like that. And so that's an important point to emphasize, and we appreciate that, and we pray for him. Now, as you leave the general administration, what sentiments do you have in your heart? Are you happy with what you were able to accomplish as an administration, as a community, as a team? Do you have some regrets? Is there something you will do differently? What sentiments are you leaving this ministry with? What's in your heart?
Thank you. The first sentiment is gratitude. Very, very, very grateful, of course, to God for this wonderful experience, but also gratitude to the congregation for offering me this opportunity to learn and to grow. These years have helped me to learn a lot, to love the congregation more, but also to grow in my own vocation. And of course, every growth experience sometimes goes through some difficult stages, which is normal. I have been very, very privileged, to be at the service of the congregation, and with the portfolio of formation. I think I have had 12 years of good ongoing formation for myself. But regrets, of course, there are things that when you look at them in retrospect, you said, okay, we could do better. I would have loved to do more with the vocation ministry, in some of the places, that we're still hesitating. Ongoing formation, that's where we did a lot, but still we are struggling to create a culture, if you want that term, a culture of ongoing formation. It's a work in progress, and I'm happy the recently concluded chapter put emphasis on that. That's an area we have to continue to grow. But it's more of gratitude and joy, for the experience that I have had during these years, and also the beautiful community of the General House. It's been a very supportive community, and yes, I'm very, very grateful.
And finally, before we let you go, I'm sure there's been, obviously we spoke about their challenges and life-giving moments, but what drives you? What has driven you over the past 12 years, and what still drives you today as you go forward with your life as a missionary, as an oblate? What is at the heart of your vocation, and then what's next for you in the near future? Are you going to write a book? Are you going to...
Yeah, as I told you, the history of my vocation is linked to experiencing a multicultural community. And it's interesting, that has always accompanied me. And as an oblate, my formation happened outside of my country. I've always lived in a multicultural community. And that is an aspect of my life that I have appreciated and I would like to keep. And related to that, what really drives me, what pushes me is that, the discovering and falling in love with Oblate charism. St. Eugene de Mazenod, his passion. I may not be as passionate as we always read about him, but he inspires me a lot. And working as a community, as a group, yes, for me it's an area that I'm happy. And also to look at the younger ones coming. I'm getting old, So when I look at the younger ones and how they are, taking their responsibilities very seriously, that makes me happy. To make sure that the life, Oblate life continues, that people continue to engage, to happily live the Oblate charism. Yes, that makes me joyful. What is next? Well, next is a good sabbatical, some rest, and then I will open my hands, you know, fiat mihi secundum verbum tuum, to God, and the Spirit General will send me wherever. I do not know. I don't dare to say what I want to, because each time God has been very tricky. You know, I was given something different from what I have asked, so I prefer to keep quiet. No. I think I will be available to the needs of the congregation, to continue to support our religious family wherever I am called to be.
Yeah. The final question I'll ask you, we've spoken about the challenges in the world, the challenges in the church, and you have been at the heart of that as an assistant general, assisting our superior general, but also making sure that our houses of formation train young missionaries that are able to respond to those challenges. But no doubt there's an oblate out there who might be discouraged to look at the world and be like, where are we going? We look at the congregation, we're like, we are dying, there's no future in this thing. What message of encouragement would you like to pass over to, especially to our young people in formation, but those especially oblates, elderly oblates, or middle-aged oblates who are encouraged, who are discouraged?
Yeah, a few months ago, someone said, in the midst of all this, that we are founded for times like this. And I think it's true. Our congregation was not founded in a very peaceful environment, period. But the founder was able to see the need for our charism as a response to the world of his time. So I think that, despite the challenges we're going through today, well, that's where we are called to live joyfully our charism, to live it, simply. I believe that simplicity is where authenticity lies. When we are simple, we are authentic. And so I encourage our conference, the younger ones especially, to seize the opportunity. We are being called for something special, something beautiful, certainly challenging, but not to lose the joy of our vocation, and and that zeal. This is real. It's not something, but and this goes through simplicity, in our daily relationships, our daily lives. So be rooted in God, be rooted in our charism, and to continue to grow in relationships with each other as a one family.
Father Cornelius, we have seen you over the past few years, how you've committed yourself in serving the congregation, and your love for the congregation, the support you've given to our former Superior General, Father Louis. So we thank you. As Father Louis himself will say, it's not about being successful, but it's about faithfulness. We thank you for your faithfulness to this call that the congregation asked of you, gave you, to lead us, to be part of that leadership. We know about all your efforts and everything you've tried to do to reform the houses of formation, the challenges you have put before us. We're grateful for everything you have done, not alone, but as a team, as a community, with a common goal, a common vision, a common concern for the future of our Oblate family. We're very, very grateful. May God bless you for whatever is next, whatever is to come. We remain united in the Lord as sons of Saint Eugene de Maisonat. May God bless you. Thank you very much, Father.
Thank you very much, Bonga. Thank you for this opportunity. And God bless you too in your ministry, you and your team. And I count on your prayers, and I also pray for you. We continue our journey as pilgrims of hope in communion. Thank you very much.
Thank you.